Hey y'all. If you have seen our most recent post, you will see that we're going to spend the next couple of days talking about different people of the Bible who experienced different types of struggles, not only with their faith, but maybe even with their mental health. And so we're actually going to start with Elijah, and we are in 1 Kings at chapter 19. So looking back at chapter 18 first, if you have not read it, highly recommend, of course. But in chapter 18, it outlines the sacrifice of Baal's prophets. So there were 450 prophets of Baal. And Elijah goes to these prophets and tells them, essentially, he's challenging their God. He's saying, yours versus mine. And he tells them to call on their God to exert its power, Baal's power, and just basically show me that your God exists. And so they call on Baal. Nothing happens, obviously. And then Elijah mocked him and was like, where is he? I don't see him. So he was triumphant that he was able to defeat the prophets of Baal. He called on the one true God, who of course exercised his power and showed that he is the one true God. So again, Elijah was triumphant. There was victory there. And then shortly thereafter that, God sends rain for the first time in 3 years. So here we have Elijah, who is probably feeling just so much relief, so much elation. And then here comes Jezebel, who hears about all of this and puts a bounty out on Elijah. And Elijah, most likely, after all of this, was feeling, despite the elation, despite the relief, was exhausted. Have you ever felt or experienced spiritual warfare, or any kind of mental, spiritual, physical battle? Whether it be all three, one or two, whichever, you're exhausted after. I remember the first time I experienced spiritual warfare, it didn't require much from me physically at all. But after, I remember I just kept saying, I feel like I just fought a battle, a war. I feel like I just got back from a war. I was drained. And so I can only imagine how Elijah felt after that. Then you have Jezebel, who's like, dead. I want him dead. So Elijah is fearful of this, and he takes off. He runs away, and takes a day's journey into the wilderness, and he's sitting under a juniper tree, and he asks God to just take his life. He's like, I've had enough. Just take my life. And instead of giving him what he wants, God gives him what he needs. God does not take his life. He sends an angel. And while Elijah is sleeping, as he very much needed, the angel wakes him and tells him to eat and drink the water. The angel has brought, there's a cake, and then there's some water. He tells him eat, and so he eats, he drinks the water, he lays down again, rests a little longer. Again, the angel comes, tells him to eat and drink, because now he's going to take an even longer journey into Mount Horeb, which it says is 40 days and 40 nights. that's a lot of exertion. So the angel's like, you're gonna need this, you're gonna need your strength. So eat, drink, sleep. Again, this is what you need. God gave him what he needed. And Elijah persevered. He took what God gave him, and he was able to keep going because God wasn't done with him. He was not finished with him. He was not ready to take him. He still needed him. And I think anytime we experience that same kind of burnout, it's so natural for us to just be like, God, I can't go anymore. I have nothing left in me. I don't want to be here. And a lot of times that sinks us into depressive states that are extremely difficult to get out of. But just know that he's not finished with you, and he will give you what you need. It may not be what you think you need, but who knows better what we need than the Creator? So just know that when you feel that burnout, when you feel like you have nothing left in you, he will provide. He will give you what you need. Just ask. So, I hope this helps somebody. If not, that's okay. Like I said, we have many more people that we're going to talk about in the next couple of days. If anybody has anything to add, you are more than welcome to do so. And I hope you have a happy Thursday. Bye.